President Bongbong Marcos has returned from his 3-day state visit to Malaysia, where he secured hundreds of millions of dollars in investment pledges amid questions on whether the Maharlika Fund will fall in the same way as the corrupted 1MDB Sovereign Wealth Fund. Finance Secretary Benjamin Diokno joins us now in the studio to tell us more. Secretary, thank you so much for joining us.
And thanks for having me, Rico.
The final word. All right, let's take a look first at the Maharlika Investment Corporation. You will be leading this government-owned, controlled corporation. But of course, now that you just came back from Malaysia, there are always comparisons and parallels that the Maharlika Fund will go the same way as the MDB, which was tainted with corruption and political scandal.
That wealth fund is one of more than 200 wealth funds. So that's a bad example. And the law that passed this Maharlika Investment Fund is full of safeguards. In fact, I sometimes I feel it's too much safeguards. Okay? For example, there are 4 layers of audits. Okay, internal audit, external audit, and then of course the commission on audit will also be in, and there's an oversight joint Senate and House committee.
And of course, everybody wants to find out who will be comprising the board of directors. You will be leading the way. Of course, you have the Development Bank of the Philippines, the Land Bank of the Philippines. Everyone wants to know who will be the CEO of the Maharlika Investment Corporation and who will be the independent directors.
Yeah, you're right. There are 2 layers. One is the board of directors, which I chair as an ex officio chairman. There will be the Land Bank president and CEO, the DBP, and then also the chairman of the Maharlika Investment Corporation. So that's 4 of us. But there are 2 directors, regular directors, and 3 independent directors. So we're in the minority if you want to look at it that way. And then there's a separate one which will run the fund, which is the Maharlika Investment Corporation. So that's different. Okay?
Have you already been able to shortlist who will be the MIC CEO and who will be the 2 regular and 3 independent directors?
Yes, but we're prioritizing the preparation of the implementing rules and regulations. The law says we have 90 days. We're not going to use the 90 days. Okay? Right after the approval of the Senate, we already start to implement the preparation of the IRR. And now we're recruiting people who will run that Maharlika Investment Corporation. I can't tell you who, but there are some applicants.
Okay, there are some applicants. You're in the recruitment stage. Are they from the Philippines? Are you looking for investment bankers, for people of integrity only here in the Philippines or also overseas?
The law allows us to consider other candidates. In fact, we can actually get people from existing wealth funds to man the Maharlika Investment Corporation.
And do they have to be a Filipino or also non-Filipino?
Not necessarily a Filipino. Okay.
And Secretary, they will all be political appointees. So you will have to forward these recommendations to the President and he will be making the appointments.
Correct. There's an advisory council consisting of the Secretary of Budget and then the NEDA Director General and the Treasurer, who will recommend the head of the Maharlika Investment Corporation to the President.
So are you saying then that these people that could be part of the board could come from like the Singapore Sovereign Wealth Fund, the Hong Kong, from the
London, New York.
New York.
Yeah.
So the talent could be, worldwide.
Global. Could be global, yes.
And when will it be operational? By the end of the year?
I think it should be operational by the first quarter of next year.
Okay. First quarter of next year. And you were in Malaysia. Is there interest from Malaysian investors to put money into the Maharlika Investment Corporation?
Well, I am not aware whether there is such a discussion because we're focused on bilateral relationship of Malaysia and the Philippines. We're celebrating the 60th anniversary next year of plus also the halal industry, and we are looking at also the welfare of our Filipinos in Malaysia. Do you know that there are 1 million Filipinos in Malaysia?
That's a lot.
And there are only 30 million Malaysians. That's a lot, yeah.
And I also wanted to clarify with you, no, Secretary Diokno, that these will be political appointees, but they will have no relation, no connection whatever to the president or to his relatives.
That's the idea.
Because the president has stressed
Yeah,
that
sure.
there will be no connection whatsoever.
That's very important to show the credibility and of the fund. We're really thinking of the serving the welfare of the country over generations to come. So this really has no political color.
I think what's also very important is the growth trajectory of the Philippines.
Correct.
We saw the economy grow between 7 to 8% last year, but it has receded a little bit to 6.4%. Can it maintain its growth path of 6 to 7% in 2023?
You know, Rico, I have served 4 presidents. I've seen the ups and downs of the Philippine economy. And I always say, this is our moment. This is our moment. So that's why right after the president was elected, we prepared what's called a medium-term fiscal framework. And in that framework, we are anticipating a growth of 6 to 7 this year, and then, of course, 6.5 to 8% for the next 5 years. And it's doable, very doable.
What about inflation? That has always been rearing its ugly head on the Philippine economy.
Yeah.
Prices are up. Are we likely to see it between 3 to 4% before year's end?
Yes, that's the target of that's actually the forecast of the BSP, because BSP, that's the major responsibility of BSP. It will be down to maybe within the target range of 2 to 4% by the fourth quarter of this year. And in fact, there's a possibility that we might overshoot, that we might hit below 2 by the first quarter of next year. But for the whole of next year, it will be around right smack in the middle, 3%.
So is it time now, Secretary Diokno, to reduce interest rates to further prop up the economy?
I don't think this is the time yet. We have to wait for more data points, but we're confident. The trajectory of the inflation is consistent with our growth of 6 to 7%.
But do you feel that we should still be raising interest rates, just like the U.S.? And what about the fear of a recession in the U.S.? Could this have a major impact on the Philippine economy?
Well, it could have impact globally, and indirectly it might affect us. But I don't think a recession in the U.S., where everybody's hoping for a mild recession, or if at all, right? It will affect I don't think it will affect our growth rate significantly.
And what about the Philippine peso? Where do you see it headed this year? Will it maintain its 55 to 56 level, or could we see a further appreciation, maybe to 53, 54?
Our assumption for the peso is between 54 to 57. And I think we're pretty happy with that range. So depending, but right now we have a hefty gross international reserves, equivalent to around 7 to 8 months. The received doctrine is 3 months is enough, and so that's one. Plus we have a steady supply of foreign exchange through our overseas remittances, through the BPO industry, and of course renewed vigor of our tourism.
And that really supports the Philippine peso against the US dollar. And of course, during the speech of the president in SONA, he basically said that smugglers and hoarders of agricultural products, their days are numbered. Bureau of Customs is under the Department of Finance. What initiatives and measures are you putting in place to put a stop to this?
Actually, the Bureau of Customs is doing a great job. In fact, they have several seizures worth about 30 billion from year to during the first semester. And so they're doing a vigorous job cutting smuggling, but the key there is to prosecute the smugglers. That's the threat of the president.
Things are looking up for the Philippine economy and for the Department of Finance in 2023 and beyond.
Indeed.
Thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word, Finance Secretary Benjamin Diokno.
Thanks for having me, Tico.